Chapter 2193 War is Ruthless. Hiss. The lizard men were wailing in pain, and the wailing made the other lizard men feel as if their souls were about to be shattered. Aha! Where had they ever seen such a brutal enemy? Their hearts were completely broken, and fear consumed them. It looks so weak, but when it comes to killing lizard men, it is like a crazy monster. A large number of lizard men were fleeing, but there were still some male lizard men who bravely picked up weapons and resisted with roars. Adult lizard men, relying on their physical strength, can possess combat power comparable to that of gamma-level humans if they practice some combat techniques on a daily basis. However, today, the aliens who can join this war of annihilation have an ability index of more than 8,000 points at the lowest. Swish, swish, swish. More than a dozen long, bright lights cut across the street, and immediately dozens of lizard men continued to charge forward, but their bodies were cut into more than a dozen pieces. Soon the huge broken body parts fell to the ground, and blood gushed out like a fountain, dyeing the street red. Lutahai's body was now half human and half fish, with his arms transformed into two huge shark fin-like scimitars. He could actually swim in the air at the same high speed as a fish in water. Behind them, Gao Tianwu and others joined the battle without hesitation and began to slaughter these lizard men. Xing Tian stood at the back of the crowd, and a powerful stream of supernatural energy rose from his body, enveloping everyone around him. The ability of the Xingtian Legion is to provide blessings to everyone indiscriminately and enhance their combat capabilities. But after completing the strengthening, he picked up a large axe that was taller than him without hesitation, rushed into the crowd of lizards and chopped down anyone he saw. Zhang Yi issued a death order. Lizard men, annihilate the entire clan, leaving no one alive. This was not a meaningless massacre. According to the established plan, they needed to destroy the important facilities in the city first. For example, the first step is to occupy the communication base and make everyone here become headless flies. Then came the occupation of the arsenal and the blocking of major traffic arteries. But when we actually arrived in the city, we saw a scene of desolation. All the lizard men had fled to the streets, and they were densely packed with people. Then we must fight our way out. Since we are going to kill them anyway, we might as well kill them all together. The aliens from the Fueying army charged into the group of lizard men like a tiger into a flock of sheep. They are like ghosts, like dragons and tigers. The enhancement type ability user was so fast that the lizard man was invisible. He didn't even have a chance to pick up a weapon to resist before his head was smashed directly from the neck. Those with the ability to release the energy are even more terrifying. Even though they were several kilometers away, they didn't even notice each other's existence before they were enveloped by thousands of huge fireballs falling from the sky. In the age of aliens, there were no aliens to fight against these invaders, and the civilians had no choice but to surrender. The high-level mutants are all fighting on the front lines at this time. Of course, there are other high-level aliens, but where are they now? In the central city area. They possessed top-level weapons and powerful strength, but they were all stationed in the central city, outside the royal palace and the homes of the nobles. And they are indifferent to all the suffering suffered by these ordinary lizard men. So, in the East City District, starting from the outermost area, hundreds of lizard men were killed every second. The blood gathered into a river and was then quickly evaporated by the burning flames, turning into hideous black and brown marks on the ground and walls. Broken limbs, organs, and heads were scattered everywhere and were trampled upon without mercy by the human warriors. Most of the lizard men on the front line are poor people living in the outer urban areas, as well as a small number of brave people who took up weapons and wanted to respond to the call of the top leaders of the Wulwan Empire to resist foreign enemies. However, it was not until the human coalition forces of Huashu Kingdom really came to attack them that they realized with horror that courage could not overcome everything. In the face of the absolute gap in strength, in front of these aliens who've been carefully trained just to become killing machines, they are simply a bunch of tofu dregs waiting to be slaughtered. Not even as good as a lamb. At least a lamb can resist a little. The male lizard men warriors were quickly slaughtered. The old men, Children and women in the rear were so frightened by the tragic scene that they howled in despair. Aha! They screamed in terror, turned around and fled, tripping and dragging each other, and large numbers of people fell to the ground. Then they were crushed by the alien troops driving chariots. Puff! The flesh and blood body turned into meat paste directly under the tracks, and blood and other turbid substances gushed out like exploding liquid. There is no mercy at all. The goal is to kill everyone. A newcomer from the fleeing force rushed into the city with the main force. He raised his gun nimbly and sniped 2 resisting male lizard men from a long distance. They were planning to move on and destroy the main buildings in the city. But at this moment, he keenly noticed movement behind the collapsed ruins. Just by turning his head, the intelligence system saw the presence of 2 lizard men behind the ruins. In a high-tech war, this clumsy way of hiding is meaningless. He dodged and came directly in front of them with a laser gun in hand. When he was about to shoot them, he was shocked to find that it was just a weak woman with a very small boy in her arms. There is not much difference in appearance between lizard people and humans, which seems to be the intentional design of the creator. Apart from being larger, having tails, and having parts of their bodies covered in scales, they are almost indistinguishable from humans. When the young soldier saw this scene, he couldn't even pull the trigger of the gun in his hand. The mother and son looked extremely weak, with no weapons in their hands, and had no ability to resist at all. They stared at the young warrior, their eyes filled with despair. The child curled up in his mother's arms, and his tears soaked his mother's clothes. The mother's body was also shaking violently. She could only look at the young warrior with pleading eyes, and then tried her best to use her body to shield the child, as if wanting to protect him from the attack. Even though she knew it was pointless, she still did it instinctively. The young warrior hesitated. It turns out that the lizard men are not beasts, but ordinary people just like them. His hands were shaking slightly, and he couldn't make up his mind to pull the trigger. Chapter 2194. Ruthless War 2. The young warrior hesitated for a while, and finally slowly lowered his arms. "We're different from you. We are warm-blooded animals with feelings." As he said this, he was about to turn and leave. But the next moment, 2 lasers shot out from not far away and directly pierced through the bodies of the mother and child. The young soldier was stunned for a moment, then turned his head to look in that direction. Zhuge Qingting, the squad leader of the fleeing unit, came over and, in front of his astonished gaze, fired 2 more shots with an expressionless face. This species is very resilient, so we must ensure that their brains and hearts are destroyed. The young warrior opened his mouth and finally said tremblingly, "They are just women and children." Zhuge Qingting looked at the young warrior. He was the latest batch to be trained, and this was his first time on the battlefield. Zhuge Qingting simply said to him coldly, "When they massacred Tianhai City, they didn't distinguish between women and children. If you don't even have this awareness, get out of the Fukiage Corps." The young warrior's face was full of struggle. He did understand the principles, but since it was his first time witnessing such a cruel war, he felt a little bit uncomfortable in his heart. When Zhuge Qingting saw him like this, he originally planned to beat him up or even kill him. After all, there is no point in keeping such a moron. However, this young soldier is very outstanding among the new batch of members of the fleeing force and is a good seedling. Zhuge Qingting said to him, "Come with me." He turned and left. The young warrior took a look at the bloody bodies of the lizard man mother and child, gritted his teeth, turned around and walked towards the war-torn city with Zhuge Qingting. Wars broke out everywhere, and the lizardmen's improvised civilian resistance forces and local law enforcement agencies also fought desperately. However, this kind of resistance is of little significance and can only temporarily delay the complete occupation of Dongcheng district. Zhuge Qingting led the young warrior to a tall, dilapidated building and said, "This is the exhibition hall built by the lizard men. Do you want to go in and take a look?" Upon hearing this, the young warrior was not sure what Zhuge Qingting wanted to do. But at Zhuge Qingting's signal, he had no choice but to go in. As a result, the moment he entered the exhibition hall, his pupils suddenly constricted, and the blood in his body turned cold in an instant, as if he had fallen into a huge ice cave. This exhibition hall was built in the last 2 years, and what is displayed inside is people. The 6th-generation humans on land. However, most of the exhibits are not complete humans, but dissected body structures displayed in special solutions like works of art. From the head to the limbs, to the internal organs, genitals, and even the entire person was skinned, and their vascular structure was displayed. There were even some pregnant women who were placed naked in a huge jar for people to see. These exhibits are very exquisite and without any bloody smell, but to a human being, they look extremely eerie and terrifying. Among these people are Asians, Europeans, and Americans. However, judging from their appearance, most of them should be from Huashu Kingdom and Colombia. After all, when the Wulwan Empire was conquering, it attacked the Huashu Kingdom and Colombia's military port in Neon. The young soldier was cold all over, and at this moment he realized something. As the 6th generation of humans, they and the lizard people as the 5th generation are both intelligent creatures of advanced civilization, but they are completely different in existence. The lizard people treat them just like humans treat gorillas and monkeys. Although I find it somewhat interesting, I don't have any sympathy or compassion, so I don't feel any psychological burden when I'm slaughtering people. At most, when a country is destroyed, there will be some volunteers from the so-called 6th Generation Protection Association, holding signs saying that the 6 generations of humans should not be destroyed, but should be raised. But that kind of condescending attitude is definitely not the way to treat intelligent creatures equally. Zhuge Qingting leaned against the door of the exhibition hall with his arms folded, looking at him coldly. Now, what do you think? The young soldier already had some tinnitus at this time, and his brain was overstimulated. After a long time, he turned around, his eyes were bloodshot. Let me go kill some more of those lizardman bastards. They really should be exterminated. Zhuge Qingting nodded. Originally, he had planned to kill this guy if he still refused to repent. But now it saves trouble. That's good. Let's continue. The total lizard population of the Wulwan Empire is 27 million. While we can directly destroy most cities with weapons of war, there will definitely be some that slip through the net. One of our tasks is to clean up the war zone and not let any lizardmen go. We must make this race completely disappear from the planet. Zhuge Qingting personally took him to the battlefield. In order to show his determination, the young warrior was no longer merciful this time. When he met those seemingly pitiful and innocent lizardmen again, he killed them all without mercy. In wars between civilized races, there is no mercy, for only within the same race would they consider taking prisoners of war and making them their own people. The huge war machine slaughtered people indiscriminately in the city. A huge mechanical life form as big as a hill, with 8 mechanical arms walking in the city, with countless large and small launchers on its body spraying out thick energy cannons, sweeping across, hundreds of lizard men were directly vaporized in an instant. Under such high-energy impact, the basic form of particles will be destroyed. As bad news continued to arrive, the top leaders of the Wulwan Empire became increasingly nervous. They felt that something bad might be about to happen. Although this idea seemed a bit absurd to them, how could the Wulwan Empire, which had stood for billions of years, collapse today? How could their solid rule, their comfortable life, and their lofty status disappear? However, in this battle, the human coalition continued to advance towards the central urban area, bringing increasing pressure to them, forcing them to prepare in advance. Emperor Ce placed his hand on his left thumb and rubbed it twice, where there was a hexagonal, ancient gem ring. And this ring is also a launching device. The self-destruction systems buried underground in the entire Wulwan Empire can be activated by this ring. By that time, the entire Wulwan Empire will be destroyed along with all the invaders. With me, we'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.